Hi, my name is Keyshawn. With all the other titles that I carry, mom, wife, taxi driver, teacher, minister, doctor, well, not really a doctor, but when you're a mom, you got to be a doctor, band-aids. And again, I call myself a NASCAR driver. My husband doesn't like that, but I think I'm a NASCAR driver. And I think I'd be a very good NASCAR driver, by the way. There was a woman from Hope Church named Stacy, and she gave me this book, no lines, no nothing in it, just a book, and said that one day you're going to be a great writer. It was a nice gift and a nice thought, but at that point in time in my life, I never thought I was going to write a book or a story or that, but it was a really kind word to say. Well, fast forward, years later, I had this terrible nightmare. And I woke up my kids and got them all in the middle of the floor and said, you got to hear this dream. I woke sweating and scared. And so I sat down and I told them the story of this dream, of this nightmare that I had. And they listened to every word like it was the best story they ever heard. And I'm just going through the details and the terror and the running and the fear and everything just poured out into them. What a mom, tell them a horrible nightmare dream. But anyway, they sat there for a few minutes and pondering, and my daughter looked at me and she goes, "Mom, you should make that nightmare into a book." Well, preparing to write this book didn't come just easy. I had a notebook on my computer, so I went in, got the notebook open, and I just started typing this story out, this dream that I had out, and wrote it all out and looked at it, and I sent it out to a friend to take a look at it for me, to edit it and, tell me how it was. It was just a few pages. It wasn't nothing serious. But when he sent it back to me, it had so many red lines on it, so many misspelled words, the punctuations, everything was wrong. And I promise you, I looked at that paper of what I did, and I felt like I just got graded a big F. I felt like a failure. I felt like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So, it became partially a waste of time, and then also the feeling of inadequacy and that this is not something that I could really do. Discouraged, I kind of set it to the side and didn't think about it anymore. But it wouldn't leave me alone. It wouldn't just go away. The thought of that dream being a book and a full story was like heavily burdened on me. So I started praying. I said, God, give me a story. Help me to achieve this and show me a way to make this dream a book. And all of a sudden, it was like the floodlights came on in my head, and I seen the story, and it just became alive. And I couldn't even write as fast as the information was coming to my head. I was writing on paper. I was writing on the computer. I was saying it out loud in my microphone so that I wouldn't forget anything. I started telling people the story that I was seeing it as it was unfolding. Finally, I got the story written out. It's cool. It's just on paper. It's just written out, papers everywhere, but in order, in sequence, how they're supposed to be. But it's a story nonetheless. I send it to my mom and I say, "Mom, read this and tell me what you think." And she reads it and she gets through the first couple of chapters and she calls me up and she goes, "Oh, I know who it is. I figured it out before I even got to the ending of it." And I'm thinking, no, it's supposed to take some time to guess. It's supposed to be a twist to it. And she goes, "No, I figured it out." And then she told me. And I was like, I got to revamp. And so I grabbed a hold of the book and I just rewrote it. I took out some details and moved them, around towards the end, middle, kind of broke it out so that it gave it a more suspenseful, questioning type feel to the story. And, put the pow at the very end of the story where the twist happens that nobody can see coming. And that's in the story for keeps. And so finally finished it. We read it over and over and over again, trying to make editing errors and fix things up. And the funny thing about this book is it was not in proper order. But it was a book, and I was pretty excited about it, but yet nervous still, reflecting back over the information that was given to me when it was just a paper, mistakes and words not being right and commas and all the things that come with it. And then finally, my mom looks at me and she goes, you know what? Push the button and publish the book so that you have accomplished your goal. It may not go out and be, out in the world because you got to advertise and all other stuff, but you've accomplished the goal of writing your book. So I took a deep breath and boom, hit that button. And now I was a published author, self-published, but I authored my book. And I had a few people, buy it and read it, and family to support. And that was phenomenal. And as soon as I was done with that book, another one came. But this one came after tragedy, seeing the death of my sister-in-law being shot and killed as a teenager. And then 21 years later, her cousin, they never even got to meet each other, being shot and killed in the exact same way. And these two both were 3 months pregnant. They both had a 5-month-old baby. That was just crazy to me. And immediately my mind opened up to, what is going on? How can I not allow their lives just to be in vain? How can I make a difference for other young people's lives? And then I got to talk to my mother-in-law, her sister, and some of the things they had endured as children and their upbringing, and it registered. It was a generational curse. And in this generational curse, bad things were happening. And these things were taking our young women's lives. And so I wanted to tell their story, and not to hurt anybody, not to put anybody down, not to demean anybody, but yet bring light to some of the terrible things that go on in people's lives. And so that other people would see this and say, I understand that. I know how to get help. So I wrote the story called Lightning Strikes Twice, telling their stories and what happened between these two young women as they grew up and went through the abuse, but also giving signs and signals and information for people to find so that they can provide help and also learn what you can do to break a generational curse in your life. I'm part of that family. My children are. So it was important to me that information got out there. And right after I finished that story, I went back over and I read my For Keeps. I read the story again and I read it, and interesting. As soon as I finished the last page of that story, it was like the floodgates of heaven opened up in my head, and all of a sudden I had an entire second book. The story came so fast and so swift to my head. It was like I couldn't write as fast as the information was coming. So I started saying it out loud so I wouldn't forget anything. I'm typing it, I'm saying it in a recorder, I'm telling people the story, and I'm getting it written out. And I mean, it went from beginning to end. And when the end happened, immediately before I could even publish that book, the third one was already coming into my head. And it was just as amazing as the first. And so it took me reading the story to realize what the story was fully about. It was just coming so fast that I really couldn't process, what it was, what the meaning was, or anything like that. It was just there. And so once I got it all written out and was able to go back and reflect and read the story, my mind was blown. I was like, wow. And then I cracked up because my husband read the story. He's not a book reader. He just, he'd rather watch a movie. But he read the story, and every few times he comes out and goes, do we need to go find a doctor for you? Because where did you come up with this? And I'm like, no, God gave it to me. It just came. And so writing has been an awesome experience of break. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I've raised over 49 children over the years. My husband and I, we've adopted 15 children. We had 5 biological children, and it's just been a lot of work. We love helping people. We love motivating and encouraging people. We like giving opportunities to children to learn education, to grow, to understand that there's more to them than what's just around them. So our lives are quite busy. And so getting the opportunity to create stories and write books has been a great piece for me. It has been so peaceful, so enlightening, so motivating, and so empowering to me that it's just a phenomenal thing to see the cover of my book, to see the story there, to have my family support, to have the encouragement from my husband and my kids, just saying, Mom, great job. And, ooh, Mom, what next? Or hurry up, Mom, get the next book out there. So those things are so phenomenal. And I hope that my stories impact you in a positive way, that you get excited about it. And my next goal is that for keeps, that becomes a movie. And I'm claiming it to be the bestseller. So go in there with me. Help me out. God bless.